through this vaccine is presently discovered during an airport security detectors. Like, so the link to the video will be the description below. Go and check them out. So let's introduce vaccine in 3, 2, 1.
When 26-year-old Kieran Matthews stepped into the airport body scanner at London Heathrow, he was 5 hours away from the biggest
Yeah.
performance of his life. Opening night of a
Really?
Broadway show in New York that could make or break his acting
New
career. The
York.
TSA officer waved him through, but then the machine beeped with an alert. Another officer appeared, staring at the screen with a confused expression. They pulled Kieran aside, speaking in hushed tones about an
Uh-oh.
unusual density in his abdomen. Kieran's throat went dry. He knew exactly what they'd found. The secret he'd been hiding for 7 months.
Independent?
The pregnancy that could destroy
Yeah, it's literally a baby bump. Yeah.
his career, his relationship, and the carefully crafted lie he'd been living. And in 3 minutes, when they insisted on a medical scan, everyone would know the truth about the baby he was carrying. And the famous man who put it there. Kieran had dreamed of Broadway since he was 8 years old,
Really?
watching bootleg recordings of musicals in his small apartment in Manchester. He'd worked 3 jobs to pay for drama school, auditioned hundreds of times, faced rejection after rejection. Then, 18 months ago, he'd gotten his break. A callback for a new musical. The director was
A new
Marcus Sterling,
musical.
a legendary Broadway name, 42 years old, married to a famous actress, father of 2 beautiful children. Marcus had a reputation as demanding, brilliant, transformative. Kieran had walked into that audition nervous and desperate. He'd sung, acted, poured everything into the performance. When Marcus offered him the role on the spot, Kieran had nearly collapsed with joy. Rehearsals started immediately, 16-hour days. Marcus pushed Kieran harder than anyone ever had. But he also saw something in Kieran that nobody else had. Real talent, raw and unpolished, but
Retelling.
undeniable. The relationship shifted slowly. Extra rehearsals, just the two of them. Marcus touching Kieran's shoulder to adjust his posture. Lingering eye contact during emotional scenes. Late dinners to discuss character motivation. Kieran knew it was wrong. Marcus was married. Marcus was his boss. Marcus was 17 years older. But Kieran had never felt this way about anyone. And Marcus said his marriage was over, that he was leaving his wife, that Kieran was different from anyone he'd ever met. The affair
Wow. So either independent?
started 6 weeks into rehearsals. Secret, intense, all-consuming. 3 months into their relationship, Kieran started feeling sick. Constant nausea, exhaustion, strange sensitivity to smells.
Yep. Independent.
He assumed it was stress from the intense rehearsal
Yeah.
schedule. Then his body started changing. His stomach swelled. His chest felt tender. He had bizarre food cravings at odd hours. Kieran went to a doctor, terrified of what they'd find. The doctor ran tests and came back looking confused. Blood work showed elevated HCG levels, a pregnancy hormone. But Kieran was male. That was impossible. An ultrasound revealed the truth. There was a fetus in Kieran's abdominal cavity. 17 weeks developed. With a heartbeat. The doctor had no explanation. Kieran
Oh,
had no female reproductive organs. He wasn't transgender. He was, by every medical definition, a cisgender man. Yet he was undeniably pregnant. Further testing suggested a medical anomaly so rare only a handful of cases existed in literature, spontaneous male pregnancy through ectopic implantation. Somehow, during intimate contact, cellular material had implanted in Kieran's peritoneal cavity and developed into an embryo. The chances were 1 in
really?
billions. But it had happened. The baby was
Yeah.
genetically Kieran's and Marcus's, their son, created through an impossibility. Kieran told Marcus
Literally.
immediately, expecting support, partnership, maybe even joy. Instead, Marcus's face went white with panic. Marcus couldn't have this come out. His career would be destroyed. His marriage,
Really?
his family, his reputation, everything would collapse. He had 2 daughters who couldn't know their father had been having an affair with a male actor young enough to be his son. Marcus offered Kieran money to terminate the pregnancy. When Kieran said that wasn't medically simple given his unique situation, Marcus offered more money to disappear. Go somewhere far away, have the baby in secret, Never tell anyone who the father was. Kieran had been devastated. The man he loved,
Wow.
who'd said he'd leave his wife, who'd promised they had a future, that man was now paying him to vanish. But Kieran
Wow.
took the money, not because he wanted it, but because he had no choice. He couldn't afford the medical care he'd need. He couldn't work while visibly pregnant. He couldn't tell his
Yeah.
conservative family
Man.
in Manchester that he was not only gay, but somehow impossibly pregnant with his married boss's baby. Marcus had one more demand. The show
Oh,
was opening in 3 months in New York. Kieran had been recast due to scheduling conflicts. But Marcus needed Kieran gone before opening night. No risk of him showing up, making a scene, exposing everything. Kieran agreed to leave London. He'd go to New York, stay hidden until after the baby was born, then figure out his life from there. Kieran spent 5 months in a tiny apartment in Queens, watching his body transform in ways that filled him with wonder
wow.
and dysphoria. His belly grew large and round. The baby kicked and moved. Kieran felt connected to this life despite the painful circumstances of its creation. He used Marcus's money for prenatal care with a discreet doctor who asked no questions. He lived in isolation, avoiding anyone who might recognize him from theatrical circles. But as the due date approached, Kieran made a decision that Marcus wouldn't like. He wanted to attend opening night, not to make a scene or expose Marcus, but to
Uh-oh.
see the show he'd helped create, the role he'd lost, the life stolen from him. He'd wear loose clothing, hide his 7-month pregnant belly, sit in the back of the theater, and leave before anyone noticed. One night to say goodbye to the dream. Kieran booked a flight from London to New York, planning to arrive on opening night. At Heathrow Airport, Kieran checked his single bag and headed to security. His oversized coat mostly hid his pregnant stomach. He felt confident he'd make it through unnoticed. The body scanner changed everything. The TSA officer studying the screen called her supervisor. They spoke in hushed tones, pointing at the image showing a clear mass in Kieran's abdomen. Kieran tried to stay calm, insisting he was fine, just overweight. But the officers were trained to identify threats. An unexplained dense mass required further screening. They took Kieran to a private room. A medical technician arrived with a portable scanner. Kieran's options were limited: submit to screening or be denied boarding and possibly detained. Kieran lifted his shirt, revealing his swollen belly. The technician's eyes widened, but she remained professional. The ultrasound wand moved across his stomach. On the screen appeared a fully formed fetus. 7 months developed. Moving. Heartbeat strong. The technician called for supervisors immediately. The small security room filled with officials, all demanding answers. How was this possible? Was Kieran transgender? Was this a hoax? Was he smuggling something? Kieran tried to explain: rare medical condition, ectopic pregnancy, doctor's documentation. But his medical records were in New York with his private physician. He had nothing to prove his impossible claims. They asked about the father. Kieran said it was complicated, private. They pressed harder. Security protocols required documentation for unusual medical situations.
Really?
Kieran's phone rang. Marcus, calling to confirm Kieran had left London and wouldn't be anywhere near opening night.
Uh-oh.
Kieran didn't answer, but the officials saw the name on the screen: Marcus Sterling. One supervisor recognized it immediately. The famous Broadway director? Was he involved in this situation?
Yeah.
Kieran's silence was answer enough. Someone took photos. Within an hour, images were on social media. Male actor
Oh. Uh-oh.
pregnant, stopped at airport security. Theater gossip sites picked it up. Within 3 hours, tabloids connected Kieran to Marcus Sterling through old rehearsal photos. The headlines wrote themselves: Broadway legend's secret affair. Male pregnancy scandal rocks theater world. Marcus Sterling's hidden life. Marcus's publicist went into crisis mode. His wife released a statement. His daughter's private school was swarmed by paparazzi. And Kieran sat in an airport
Oh boy.
security room, watching his private nightmare become international news, his flight to New York canceled, his plan to quietly disappear completely destroyed. Marcus arrived at the airport with lawyers, demanding to see Kieran. Airport officials allowed a supervised meeting in a secure room. Marcus looked destroyed. His career was over. His marriage was ending. His family hated him. And it was all Kieran's fault for not staying hidden. Kieran felt rage build for the first time. His fault. Marcus was the one who'd lied about leaving his wife.
Yeah.
Marcus was the one who'd paid him to disappear. Marcus was the one who'd treated their child like an inconvenient problem. Kieran made a decision in that moment. He'd been ashamed, hiding, protecting Marcus's secrets. No more. Kieran agreed to one interview. He'd tell the truth, the affair, the pregnancy, the money, the abandonment. Everything. Marcus begged him not to, offered more money, threatened legal action. But Kieran was done being controlled. The interview aired
Okay.
2 days later. Kieran sat in a London studio, 7 months pregnant, and told the whole story. The
Mhm.
affair, the impossible pregnancy, Marcus's rejection, the money to disappear. The response was explosive. Some people attacked Kieran as a homewrecker. Others saw him as a victim. Medical experts debated how male pregnancy was possible. Lawyers discussed paternity rights. Marcus's career imploded. His show opened to protests. His wife filed for divorce. He released an
Really?
apology that satisfied nobody. But Kieran felt
What's
free for the first time in months. The secret was out. The hiding was over. At 38 weeks, Kieran went into labor. The
Oh. Oh.
delivery was complicated, requiring surgical intervention. But the baby, a son, was born healthy. Kieran named him Leo, meaning brave, because they
Yo.
both need courage for what came next. Marcus wanted parental rights. Kieran fought him in court. The legal battle was messy, public, painful. Eventually, they reached an agreement. Marcus had visitation rights, but Kieran had primary custody. Marcus paid substantial child support, but couldn't make decisions about Leo's upbringing. Kieran never returned to acting. The scandal had made him too famous, too controversial. Instead, he wrote a memoir about his experience. The book became a bestseller. He used the money to create a foundation supporting LGBTQ+ parents and people with rare medical conditions. Leo grew up knowing the complicated truth of how he came to exist. Kieran never lied to him about Marcus, about the pregnancy, about the scandal. Today, Leo is 4 years old. He's curious, artistic, and loves stories, just like Kieran did at that age. Marcus sees
Really?
him once a month, awkward visits that satisfy legal obligations but lack real connection. The airport security check that exposed everything happened 5 years ago. Kieran still thinks about it. How different his life might have been if he'd chosen a different flight, a different airport, a different day. But he looks at Leo
Yeah.
and can't imagine any other outcome. The humiliation led to freedom. The exposure led to truth. The scandal led to this beautiful, impossible child. So here's
Yeah.
the question. When our secrets are exposed, do we crumble or do we choose to stand in our truth? Share your thoughts below, because sometimes the worst moments of our lives are the ones that set us free.
Cool. Yeah. That's it. As explore the truth. Yeah. Because truth we as a way of coming out. So yeah, that was his precisely discovered during airport security by Decatos. The link to the video will be the description below. Go and check them out and drop a like if you like. And comment below if you want to see more reaction like this one. And subscribe if you're new. And click the post so you can be notified when I upload and when I post and go live in the month. Bye. Wow.